Hello, Viking families, and welcome to the North Junior High Safety Protocol Review. I am Jeff Roberts, principal at North Junior High.
And I'm Drew Lingle, assistant principal at North Junior High.
One thing we'd like to do with this video series is acknowledge the varying levels of comfort as we return to 5 days a week and hope to answer any lingering questions. I can assure you that all staff here at North are really excited about your students returning 5 days a week. We're going to review most of our elements of our pandemic operation plan and the strategies we're using. And if you have any questions at all about any of our strategies, please feel free to reach out to Mr. Lingle or myself. Remember, school starts again on March 29th, the Monday following spring break. We know all of our families, well, let's say many of our families are as excited as we are to return, but some have some concerns. Please don't hesitate to give us a call at all. And thanks for watching our video series. Hello, Viking families. Mr. Lingle and I will be doing a few videos on some of our safety protocols as we get ready to return to, that's right, 5 days of in-person school. We're very excited to see all of our Vikings back together starting on March 29th, so we're super excited for that. First safety protocol we're going to review, that's right, you probably guessed it, masks. Please remember, anytime you're on campus, you must be wearing a mask appropriately. Appropriately means it entirely covers your nose, your mouth, and your chin. If you happen to show up to school and you forgot a mask or you need another one, feel free to check in at the office as soon as you get on campus, or even meet me out front. We have got plenty, and we're happy to share a mask with you. It's not a borrow. You can have it. We've got plenty for that. The only and obvious exception to that will be the cafeteria. When students are in the cafeteria, they may remove their mask, of course, while they're eating. If you have any questions about masks, feel free to ask your first period teacher when you return to school. They'll be happy to explain that to you. We look forward to having all of our Vikings together. Remember, mask, face covering are required as soon as you come on campus. So if you're walking, getting dropped off, bus, of course, it's required there as well. Make sure you're wearing it appropriately, covering your nose, your mouth, your chin. And Vikings, we are all excited to see you back on the 29th. The next section of our safety protocol review is disinfectant strategies. We have added some electrostatic sprayers in addition to our teachers and custodians who are disinfecting classrooms regularly. The electrostatic sprayers are amazing. They help us efficiently and quickly disinfect an entire classroom. Many of you have seen us use these in the gym following the basketball games, and some teachers have these as part of their pandemic plan where we have the custodians will come through and quickly disinfect an entire room. We're not advocating for this particular model, but we will add a link at the end of this video. So if you're interested in how the electric charge is added to the spray, it's pretty interesting. But again, it helps us efficiently, quickly sanitize large areas, and we're able to sanitize more areas just because of this simple tool, in addition to all the regular sanitizing that we do in a classroom. As your student has probably told you, there's at least one bottle of spray in every classroom. Teachers are using that regularly. Again, this is just where we're trying to establish the most disinfected area that we possibly can as students transition into new rooms. Thanks for watching these, and please look forward to hand sanitizing, reduced class sizes, and a bunch of other information following this. Hand sanitizing is the next area of our safety protocol review that we're going to touch on. Hand sanitizer will be provided in all classrooms. We have it in the hallway, cafeteria, library. Students will continue to be reminded and encouraged to use hand sanitizer as frequently as possible. We do have bathrooms upstairs, downstairs, in both basements, in the gym, in the locker rooms, but the reality is we don't have enough sinks for students to all wash their hands transitioning between class periods or on their way to the cafeteria. And so we do have an abundance of hand sanitizer available. Please be sure and use that as we go. And students, if you'd like to bring your own, you're welcome to do that as well. But we do have hand sanitizing as one of our primary areas for our safety protocol. If you have any questions about this or any of our safety protocols, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me or Mr. Lingle. Just feel free to call the office and we'll be happy to speak with you. Thanks, and look forward to reduced class sizes coming up next. We're now going to talk about our reduced class sizes as part of our safety protocol review. Across our entire district, all junior high and high school classes have a cap of 25 students. Now, there might be an odd band class that's a little bit bigger in some of our biggest rooms within the district, but the general education classrooms will have a maximum of 25 students. What that does for us is that it allows us to implement all of our mitigation strategies a little bit more effectively by having that smaller student load in each of the individual classrooms. Again, if you have any questions about this or any other part of our safety protocol review, feel free to get in touch with me or Mr. Lingle. And up next is social distancing. This portion of our safety protocol review is about social distancing. I'm sure you've seen in our many press releases that we will maintain the greatest amount of social distancing possible when we return to 5 days of in-person learning. We're very excited about that day. One thing I'd like to point out about North and our beautiful building built here in 1936, we will be able to maintain that 6-foot standard in many of our classrooms, but not all. The classroom that I'm in right now has had all of the furniture removed and only student desks and a small teacher station. And we've done that to maintain the greatest amount of social distancing possible. Maximizing social distancing is an important part of our overall safety protocol, combined with masks, 100% fidelity to that, hand washing, all of those things together, as well as the other things we reviewed and more to come, are our strategy to keep your students safe when they return to North Junior High. If you ever have any questions about social distancing or any other elements of our plan, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Mr. Lingle. The last portion of our safety protocol review before I turn it over to Mr. Lingle is we're going to talk a little bit about our block schedule. We will continue to use the block schedule for the remainder of the school year. A block schedule simply reduces the number of students and staff each person will come in contact with in any given day. It also cuts in half our passing periods. So block schedule, again, only 4 classes a day versus 7, just a handful of transition versus a whole pile of transitions is the reason why we're at a block schedule. We do anticipate returning to a regular 1 through 8 period schedule for next year, and hopefully your students have enjoyed a little bit of extra time within their classes to really dive deep into some of the curriculum, particularly where they've had hands-on assignments. So again, this is the last section for me for this part of the review, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Lingle for outdoor classrooms.
In addition to all the safety protocols Mr. Roberts just mentioned, we have also designated 12 areas outside for teachers to hold class, and we will be encouraging them to do so. If you see a Wi-Fi router in the upstairs window pointing down at the grass, it's probably for one of our outdoor classroom areas. Contact tracing will continue to take place to inform students and families of possible COVID-19 exposure. Our passing periods between each class will continue to be staggered, with a third of the classrooms releasing at the bell, another third 1 minute later, and the last third 2 minutes later. By staggering our bells and our release times in this way, it reduces the number of students in the hallways from about 750 to 250. During both break and lunch, only students who need to get food from the cafeteria will be allowed to go in the cafeteria. When they're in the cafeteria, we will only be allowing 3 students per table, which will allow us to meet the 6-foot requirement for social distancing. Students who bring their lunch from home, we will be encouraging them to either go into the gym or outside to eat their lunch. Now, if they go to the gym or if they go outside, we obviously will continue with 6 feet of social distancing. To help with this, we've actually purchased 13 picnic tables that are now back out by the blacktop for those students who choose to eat their lunch outside. Now, if you live in a family that is at high risk for COVID, we hope that you have already been in contact with our counselor and have already enrolled in Boise Online School. Now, if your situation in your family has changed and you haven't yet contacted the counselor about the high risk of your family, we encourage you to do so as soon as possible so that we can explore options for your student and family. Now that we've had time to talk about all of the safety procedures that will be in place when kids return to 5 days a week in-person learning, let's spend just a few minutes talking about just some general policies and procedures. The first one I want to talk about is morning drop-off. Parents, please drop off your students as close to 7:45 as possible in order to reduce the number of students in the building before school. Now, we realize that this is not an option for some parents, but if you do have the option, please drop them off close to 7:40 if you can. All right, when you're dropping your students off, please make sure you're dropping them off on Residue or 4th Street. Please leave 13th Street available for the buses. The daily schedule going forward is going to be Monday through Friday, 7:45 to 2:30. So what that means is that Mondays will no longer be virtual. Mondays will be a regular school day with kids in the building from 7:45 to 2:30. All right, so again, Monday will not be virtual and it will not be a late start. Monday will be a regular school day, 7:45 to 2:30. If you're absent from school for the remainder of the school year, it's important that you know that you will not, students, you will not be able to join your class virtually. With all of the students back in the building, our teachers are going to be teaching to the students in the classroom. All right. However, if you are absent, teachers will still be updating their Google Classrooms with daily work and daily assignments. So you should be able to visit your teacher's Google Classroom and get all of the daily work that you're missing for that day. However, again, if you're absent, you will not have a Google Meet to join. You will just have to access Google Classroom and get your assignments for that day.
Thanks, Mr. Lingle. I'll take procedures review from here. The next thing we're going to talk about is travel and quarantine. We cannot require families to follow the CDC recommendations, but we do hope that all of our families do follow those recommendations and avoid unnecessary travel through the end of the school year. If a student or family member has COVID symptoms, or even close exposure, please be sure and contact your primary care provider and reach out to our school nurse. We are happy to help with that and initiate contact tracing if we need to do that. Again, we do recommend, we cannot enforce the CDC recommendation for avoiding unnecessarily travel. We do hope that you help us get back in school and stay in school. Next up will be what happens if my child does have to quarantine. Stand by for that next. Our last section of our procedure review is what happens if your child has to quarantine. As some of you know, we are very efficient with our contact tracing, and we will absolutely take into consideration any absences due to quarantine. We will be flexible with that as we go forward for credit, for advancement. Please don't worry about that part if you have any concerns. Just feel free to give me a call or the office a call, and we'll be happy to discuss that with you. We will continue to mark accurate attendance in Infinite Campus. We do need to know and have a very accurate count of who is and who is not in the building at any given time, and we do that through our attendance. So if you see that a student is marked absent and if they're quarantined, please don't worry, we do reconcile that every day. If you have any questions, feel free to call the office. Another thing to consider is if a student does have to quarantine as we go into 5 days in person, which again, we're very excited about, the student will work with their teachers as they would with any regular absence. I'm here in our Family Consumer Science classroom. We will not necessarily be replicating all of those classes virtually as we've done in the past. We don't necessarily want students cooking at home without the supervision that we can provide in this particular classroom. Other classrooms will have lessons that will be videoed. It just depends on the content and if we can intelligently provide that content with a video or not. Every teacher will work with any absent student for any reason to make sure that they get the best educational experience they have, but we will not continue to have a hybrid lesson delivery as we do now, where teachers are teaching as much online as they are in person. You might be thinking, but yes, there's always a what if. The what if is we have one classroom that has, we hope not, but has a cluster of students who are absent. In that case, we will look at that particular classroom and we'll put hybrid back into place if necessary. We hope that's not, but we do have plans to move with those by particular sections depending on the needs of students. So in general, to summarize all of that, In family consumer science, probably not going to see us driving a lesson for a student to be cooking in your kitchen without supervision. In Miss Thompson's math class, there will be a video for most of those. It just depends on the class. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call at any time. We appreciate your patience through this review. Again, call us with questions. We're happy to meet with you or communicate with you, whatever way is the most convenient. Take care.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the videos. Hopefully, most of the questions that you had have been answered as a result of watching the videos.
Truly, Viking families, if you have any lingering questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to Mr. Lingle or myself. We'll be happy to connect with you in any way and describe in detail any of our procedures or processes that we put in place. In fact, many of these processes have been suggested not only by our staff, but students, but also by family members just like you. So please don't hesitate to reach out with anything you'd like to speak with us about. Thanks again for watching. Have a great afternoon, and know that we are so excited to see your students back on March 29th.
Thanks.